It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer, and I'm super excited to bring you a 5-litre mini keg of Waldhaus Diplom Pils. Now, they've called this a super premium Pils. It's coming in at 4.9% ABV, and it's Privatbrauerei Waldhaus. But this keg was kind enough to be sent to me by draftproducts.com. Check them out. They've got quite a few 5-litre mini kegs on their website. I've just had a look. Currently, this was $29.99 as of, well, I checked this morning. It's been reduced on their website. It's $26.95. They've knocked a couple of pound off this. So currently $26.95 for the super premium Pilsner German lager. With the Euros coming, who doesn't want to dip their toes in with German lager? So without further ado then, exciting. Got my Moore Brewery beer glass. Let's get this out into a glass and see what we get. So what we're going to do first, I believe, let's have a look at this. Let's just turn things, and so you turn this over to number 1. This keg has been in my fridge a few days. Got out the fridge nice and quietly, walked it literally like this into the bar as to not shake it up too much. You just heard that little hiss. So you turn the tap on, pull the tap out the bottom, and you turn the release valve around to the next notch. Let some of that excessive carbonation out. And then you give it a pour. So 45-degree angle. Oh, look at this. Sometimes these 5-litre mini kegs, it's a kind of a situation where you never quite know how it's going to behave. But this is pouring really nicely. There we go. I think I was out of shot there, my apologies. There we go, this is what it looks like. It's a bit of a check head on this beer. The Germans, the Belgians, they love their great big heads on the beer. There's actually a really decent point to having a decent head on the beer. It doesn't really kind of like work with me too well because I drink my beer so fast. But the idea is, if you're a slow beer drinker, or if you want your beer to last, then you have your liquid, and then you have a layer of foam to protect the beer from the environment, from the air, the oxygen, and it keeps the beer a little bit better for you. So, what do we have? We have a slightly, look at this, wonderful, slightly hazy looking Pilsner, good levels of slow moving carbonation. The carbonation is really small, really tight, small carbonation, which is a very good sign. 2 to 3 finger fluffy white head, straw coloured. Let's get the aroma on this beer then. Oh yes. That is just wonderful. It's got that classic stinging nettle aroma, that kind of spicy pepperiness that comes through. Little bit of sweetness from the light crisp malt that they've used. The Germans really do know how to brew a beer. Let's dive into this one. Cheers, everybody. That is super fresh beer. You get that little lovely light crisp malt wafer kind of biscuity flavour coming through. But the carbonation is so fine in the beer. It's enough to push the beer around the inside of the mouth, release more of that flavour. But it's just perfect. Perfect amount of carbonation. Lovely light crisp malt flavour to begin with. And then that gives way to terrific balanced bitterness. Well, I say balanced, it's quite a bitter beer. It's a Pilsner. It's going to be bitter. The bitterness is terrific. Really terrific. It's just, you have some of that malt sweetness over here, that light malt sweetness, and then the bitterness on the back end. It just kind of, it does tip the balance a little bit. It is quite bitter. So they're going to be using traditional German hops in this beer to produce this beer, to get it to be stinging nettle like, peppery, spicy, stinging nettle, bitter. I'd say this is about 60 IBUs, which is international bittering units. Your palate can take up to 100. So about 60 is, yeah, it's kind of quite bitter. If you like your bitter Pilsners, perfect. Absolutely perfect. So, but what am I talking about with stinging nettle? So on the Darwin tree of life, stinging nettle and hops are cousins. They kind of branch off. The hop goes that way, and then the stinging nettle branches off on another direction. And before we brewed as a brewing world, before we found the hops, we were using any old irons out. We used stinging nettle to actually preserve the beer. Stinging nettle was that kind of the thing to preserve beer before they used hops. And then they found hops, and then they kind of manipulated hops that become fruity and lovely and jammy and tart and grapefruit and orange peel and fleshy blood orange. Your New World hops. But if you go right back, stinging nettle was the first thing to be used to preserve beer. My apologies, I lost my track of thought for a moment there with the any old iron people. I do love living in a town. I love living in this busy town. But I do sometimes wish I had a studio in the middle of a forest, in the middle of nowhere, with just the birds singing. This Waldhaus Pilsner is absolutely fantastic. I couldn't recommend it highly enough. It's brilliant, super cold. It's a really well tasting, decent Pilsner. To be honest, before this keg was sent, I hadn't heard of this brewery. I hadn't heard of this German brewery. I hadn't tried any of their beers. But it's top quality stuff. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 from Real Ale Craft Beer. Please put your comments in the comments box. Subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom. Cheers.